What's up, guys? I think I fixed my camera. It wasn't messed up actually. It was just set to 4K. And since it's a old camera, like 15 seconds into recording, it just glitches up and messes up. Um, but it's set to 1080p now, so I think it works, which would bring me back to as natural habitat as it can get. The GoPro, little hoodie going on. All right, so let's get into it. This video, I wanted to talk about the power of living below your means. This is probably something, if you've been watching my videos, that I touch on, and it's something that I kind of don't have to touch on. It's pretty clear. I believe in this concept at a high degree. But recently, I was inspired by my roommate who quit his job, who's just thinking about starting his business, but he wants to get away from, his insanely tedious work, which is construction, having to lift things all day, and then he's starting to do Uber. Right now, he broke down the numbers to me, which was really cool. And basically, we had a conversation about what he would need to do, how he would have to have this split going on with Uber between starting his own business, what he really wants to do, which is with a friend of his who's been working in the construction industry with him, and they're like opposites in skill sets. Anyways, point is, I'm going to use their example to play out a role of practicality of how you can transition from working and then transition into doing what you actually want to do, right? All right, so let's get into it. This is the numbers he broke down to me, right? Now, this is an insane number, even for American standards. This is, you can make a lot of money with Uber. I didn't even know about this. So, if you're in another country, you can take the gist of what I'm trying to play out and apply it to there as well, right? It's going to be different things, obviously, but this is how it plays out for him. If he works 16 hours a day, okay, he's going to be able to make $1,000 a week. So that's a ton of money. Doing something that it's pretty low barrier to entry, right? You just have to have a working car. You don't even have to, I believe you don't even need like all the licenses or something like that, he's telling me. And boom, within like 3 days of him deciding to do it, he's already on the road and he's driving and he's making the money. And he's making about $150, $200 a day. But he works a lot, right? He works like 16, 17 hours a day. That's a ton of driving, and it's 7 days a week, right? So it's not easy, obviously, but for average consumer who's usually in America at his age is making about $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, he can twice that by working probably about twice the amount of hours, right? So I guess it's more of an opportunity thing than than compared to he's making so much for what he's working. But anyways, without making it more complicated, this is what I broke it down to. If he was the place he's living now, right, with his bills and everything, right, how much he has to work to pay just to exist, right? This is something that I touched on like over a year ago, right? What do you have to, if you're not able to start doing whatever you want to do, right? I don't want to call it a business, SEO. If you're not able to do right now whatever you want to do, because of practical reasons, because you need a roof, because you need food to feed yourself, and you can't just go all in this uncertainty. If you're not able to do that, then how much of the guaranteed shit, how much of the stable stuff do you have to do to just break even and pay your bills, right? So for him, if you do the math, it's 16 hours a day he's working, 7 days a week. Right now, I can't do even that math in my head. But the point I'm trying to get to is he has to work about roughly 1 week of the month to pay most of his bills. I mean, his bills is a little bit higher because this guy has a car now, food and stuff like that. He goes out a bit in the weekends. It's probably more like 1,500, right? So let's say it's like week and a half, right? Let's say 10 days in the month, right? First 10 days is to break even. The next 20 days he could be actually using to do his business, and it'll be fine. You start to see the math. Now that might not be practical because it kind of doesn't make sense if you're going so hard, like 16 hours a day, 7 days a week for the first 10 days. You probably don't have to do it that hard. The split would be different, but you get the idea, right? Where it comes in play. He could probably do it, cut down on hours, potentially to just break even. He could probably work, let's say half that, right? To make $2,000, he would have to only work 8 hours a day, right? To make 2,000. Now, a little bit less, he could be probably working 5-6 hours, 5-6 days a week for about 5-6 hours a day. And then that would equal to him making about $1,500 for the month, just enough to break even. But then realize what that would unlock. If you're chilling, and for a guy like him who has no problem driving all day, he says this is the easiest shit ever. He doesn't even feel 16 hours because he's used to, for the last 5 years, lifting shit up for hours, from 5 a.m. in the morning to afternoon, sweating. He's working on high buildings and stuff like that, 180 pounds of things, and he does that like multiple times. So for that kind of work, he says this is the easiest shit, right? So what I'm trying to say, if you play out the role, right, he would have to just basically work, like I said, 5 hours a day, this easy driving thing early on in the morning, best hours of the day, apparently, according to him. That's when you make the most money with Uber, whatever. He can pick the best hours, work 5 hours a day, and then come back and he can work on start learning whatever the moves he has to make for his business. And at the end of the day, you would probably be at a overall working hour of around 8 to 10 hours, which is still way less than what he's doing now. He still has the money to pay his bills and everything and break even. But at the same time, he's pushing forward the momentum, and start the pursuit of being able to one day do what he wants to do. So this was incredible. This was, just in front of me, in my eyes, I could see exactly a breakdown of something that I was talking about over a year ago. Is just doing enough to break even, to pay your bills, and then rest of the time and energy and focus is spent on the thing that you really want to do. Okay? So I could end the video there because that kind of says it all, but let's play out another scenario. Let's say, because this video is really about living below your means, right? And in fact, I should probably give you guys a tour on how I've been still living technically for just $250 a month. In fact, let's make that happen. You guys know my storeroom, right? This is my storeroom right here. If I go in my room, probably super messy right now. Yeah, it's super messy. But you can see the size of this room. Let's do it justice here. It's a pretty huge room with the storeroom. In New York, in the area I live in, if you Google it, it's the highest tax, I think, in the whole country. Highest tax, right? Like an apartment in this area, usually it starts at like $1,200, right? Even if it's the smallest studio. But I was able to get this room because this is actually a living room, right? The next door is where my roommate lives. And then the other next door there is I rented out to a guy for around 3 times what I pay for this room. And that room there is 3 times smaller than this room. Unfair, I know, but that's what the standard is. I made the move and got this entire apartment, and that's all. I only answer to the landlord, like, hey, I'm gonna pay you for the entire apartment. Whatever I do is up to me, right? I mean, I didn't say it like that, but they know the deal. And I was able to get this deal. And I pay, technically $250 because when I got this, my girlfriend was working, and we would be splitting this room, which is $550, right? I mean, now it went to, they increased the rent last year, but it was $550 when I started. $500 when I started. It became $550 now, and then me and my girlfriend would split it until she started working full time for me, and then I just pay for everything, right? So yes, I'm paying like $550, but still, I started this shit at $250, and now went to $550, which is still obviously a super bargain compared to the size and everything. And if you think about the timeline of what this allowed me to do, right? Rent at $250 when I started. My phone, it was the iPhone 5C I had for 4 years. The bill on the phone was $25 a month. I didn't have internet. I didn't have unlimited internet living in a first world country. A lot of you have unlimited internet living in a third world country, right? $250 for rent, $20 a month for a phone service. Every food and meal I eat is in-house, right? My food was the most expensive expense in the beginning because I would still buy good food, right? I would still buy everything I would need to eat, and my eating habits has been almost identical for the last couple of years. But if you look at what in the timeline it allowed me to do, it would spell out massive leverage. It put me at a place where I could spend literally what I did is all my time and energy into learning that. I mean, I don't recommend this anymore because you could just get a job and do this, but it allowed me to put all my time and energy and learn this shit, learn how to sell, learn SEO, and for the bits and pieces that I had to pay, I went in debt in my credit card, but it wasn't a ridiculous amount, right? If I was living more of an average life even, which in here in New York is normal. By the way, average, nobody has an idea. That's what another thing I realized. When I was living in a shoebox apartment, like the size of this storeroom, and I was paying like $700 a month, and I would show some of my friends, like, yeah, this is the room I live in, and it's pretty small. They're like, yeah, that's how New York is. Then when I moved here, I'm like, yeah, this is what I pay, like just $250. They're like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, the people who know the deal, they would say that, oh shit, this is one heck of a deal. How the fuck do you find this? But the people who doesn't really know or doesn't really live here, they'll be like, dude, what are you doing to yourself? You're only paying, like, why are you going so hard? Why are you like torturing yourself so hard by living so cheap? I'm like, what are you guys talking about? $700, and I was paying for a shoebox. Now I have a huge room with my own storeroom and I'm paying $250. You guys don't see, like, clearly you're judging it by the price but not the value. But that's a different story. The point I was trying to make is, if I was living an average life, right, which was, hey, you're in New York, an average apartment here is about $1,000 or $1,200. Okay, hey, you should get a car because you're not in the city. You should drive around, get a finance thing. It's like average Corolla. That's doesn't have to be the newest thing, but good enough. Let's say like $300-400 a month. Financing it. You're gonna own the car, all that shit. It's gonna be pretty easy. It would have been pretty easy for me to come with a price tag that's $2,000 a month, just to exist. Emphasis. Just to fucking exist, you're gonna work. Like, how does that make sense? Please, somebody explain to me. How the fuck does that make sense for you to spend literally 2-3 weeks of the month just to break even and pay your bills? It doesn't make sense to me, right? I mean, I have some advantage because I don't give a shit as much of like fashion and all this shit. So I have a little bit of advantage. But even if I wasn't that, even if I was a guy who's a hype beast and who likes fashion and all these shoes and watches and all this stuff, it still wouldn't make sense to me. I would still do the same run, and only now I'll start getting the hype beast shit. There's no way we were just born to pay bills and then fucking die. That doesn't make sense, right? It is much more. And even the story is so much greater when you live below your means, play the deals right. So even if you can't do what you want right now, you have to do just enough of other shit to break even, and then you could spend the rest of your time and energy doing the shit you want to do, or doing the shit that's going to propel you to be able to do the shit you want to do. Peace.